Thank you, Mr Matheson. And I call Monica Lennon to be followed by Ben McPherson. Around 4 minutes.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. We're here because Scotland is clearly in breach of the Aarhus Convention, and this is denying Scots access to environmental justice. I believe this is a vital debate because Scotland is one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world, and we are simply not doing enough to tackle climate breakdown. The pollution of our air, land and water is not a rural problem or an urban problem, it's an everywhere problem. So I do agree with the points that Michael Matheson was making, that we shouldn't try and split our communities. Decisions about the use of land and how we treat the environment, these decisions are taken in systems that benefit the wealthy and the powerful, often to the detriment of people and communities with the least resources. The Scottish Government's persistent failure to comply with the Aarhus Convention is not simply embarrassing, it is endangering the human rights of my constituents and the people of Scotland. So I want to pay tribute to the Environmental Rights Centre for Scotland, Planning Democracy, Friends of the Earth Scotland, RSPB Scotland, and all those who are fighting for environmental justice and for the right to a healthy environment. I'll give way.
Thank you, Monica Lennon, for the intervention. You talk about the importance of air, land and water. But does she agree with me that how can you plan and start implementing an infrastructure and a project without a proper and thorough independent environmental impact assessment?
Monica Lennon, I'll give you the time back for that.
So it's really important that we have robust environmental impact assessments, and Tess White may know that I was a Chartered Town Planner in a previous life, so happy to have a longer discussion about that. But I'm glad that the member intervened, because the question I put to her about the imbalance in our planning system, we don't have a level playing field. So that's why that question about equalising the right of appeal gets to the very heart of this debate. And my colleague Sarah Boyack, who's nodding from the front bench, a fellow former town planner, perhaps we're responsible for the shortfall in planners in this country. But these are really critical debates, and it's absolutely up to this government to get this right. And if they won't do it, then we need a government in the next Parliament who will lead on these issues. But if I can, with the time that I have, and I think I've only got, I don't know if I'm getting time back or not, so I'll have to race through this. So it's great we have two committees focusing on this. Last week in the Net Zero Committee, I was able to put questions to Dr Richard Dixon from Environmental Standards Scotland. And I was really concerned to hear Dr Dixon, who I'm sure the government respects, say that the government has produced a really shoddy secondary paper that went into environmental courts, and why it does not want one, but it was still not very convincing. He did say that one way that government could accelerate towards Aarhus compliance is to create an environmental court, but the government seemed desperate not to do that, and that's inexplicable to me. He said that the original consultation on governance hardly mentioned the environmental court and dismissed the idea without any evidence. So I'd love to hear the reason for that. This matters to my local community. We've had to fight against speculative applications for incinerators. So I pay tribute to the Dovedale Action Group, to my constituents in Whitehill. I also want to thank members in this chamber who have supported my call for ecocide law in Scotland, because we do need system change. It's not about picking out individual locations, individual types of application. We need to make sure that our systems work for people and planet. And at the heart of that should be Aarhus compliance. Reputationally, this is damaging to the government, but it's damaging to Scotland, and we need urgency from the government. They will get backing from this chamber, but they need to come up with something that's credible.